So on April 14th, 2007, a man named Anthony Presnell created a YouTube channel called Blame Truth. He would spend the next few years continuously uploading videos to the channel, mainly gameplays of games like Call of Duty, UFC Undisputed, and Pokémon. He began to garner a lot of attention and support, with some of his videos reaching nearly 500,000 views. While today 500,000 views on a video may not seem like an abnormal achievement, back in the 2000s, it was almost unheard of, especially if your videos were recordings of you just playing video games. However, despite Blame Truth's success with gameplays and commentary videos, he decided to try something new. In late 2011, he began a series called Recordings. I'll describe what this was in more detail later in the video, but basically it was a series in which Blame Truth documented unusual and creepy events that were happening to him in his personal life. Now, before I go any further, I have to establish something very important.
It's a total fabrication.
This series was staged, fake, not real, but at the time, this shit had you hooked. I mean, if you were an adult while watching this series, you probably wouldn't have believed anything, but if you were a kid like I was, my god man, this was like crack to me. Especially since Blame Truth was one of my favorite YouTubers at the time. And it wasn't only me. So many of his subscribers were into it too, on the edge of their seats wondering where this was going, if it was real or fake, or if Blame Truth was in legitimate danger. So in this video, I'm going to dissect the recording series, what exactly it was, why it became successful, and why I think there'll never be anything like it ever again. So to understand why Blame Truth decided to create this series, we first need to understand the year in which it was made, 2011. Around this time, the genre of horror was changing. No longer were slasher movies like Friday the 13th or Halloween super popular. They were being overshadowed by found footage films such as Grave Encounters and the extremely popular franchise Paranormal Activity. Additionally, television was cashing in on the paranormal trend as well, with shows like Ghost Hunters and Ghost Adventures becoming increasingly popular. Think back to the early 2010s. What kinds of conversations about pop culture were you having? It's more than likely ghost-related media was a part of them. Simultaneously, the nascent internet culture was starting to firmly grasp the minds of a much greater population. No longer was internet culture so niche. It was becoming more widely accessible thanks to smartphones and cheaper computers. Horror had its own place on the internet as well, in the form of stories called creepypastas. In 2011, creepypastas were reaching peak popularity. Stories like Ben Drowned, Squidward's suicide, and especially Slender Man were ubiquitous. What made these stories so compelling was the mystery that shrouded them. This had to be fake, right? This can't be real. These are just some of the thoughts that ran through readers' minds as they frantically searched for evidence to debunk what they had just read. However, there's one creepypasta that's some credit as the catalyst for Blame Truth's recording series: Lavender Town Syndrome. This story purports that several children in Japan committed suicide after playing Pokémon Red and Green back in 1996, specifically after hearing the background music near the graveyard in Lavender Town. Supposedly, the music emits high-pitched frequencies that only children hear, and the music drives them insane. But what does this obviously fictional story have to do with Blame Truth? Well, around Halloween in 2011, he uploaded a video called My Scary Pokémon Blue Story, Part 1. In it, he talks about a copy of Pokémon Blue that he and his cousin shared as kids. His cousin played the game and wound up catching a bunch of missing no's, and then gave it back to Blame Truth. It's here, he claims, that a bunch of weird stuff started happening. First, one of the missing no's transformed inside of his box into a Ditto, specifically a white Ditto. Get it? Like a ghost. The Ditto then transformed to an Eevee, then an Arbok, and then back to a Ditto. Take the first letter of each of those names and you get dead. And as he's about to divulge some pretty useful info, this happens.
I plug it in and I go to my
Now all of this sounds eerily similar to your typical creepypasta. You got your haunted Nintendo cartridge, check. Spooky backstory, check. An animated character with hyper-realistic eyes, check. And if you pay attention to the background music, it's the fucking Lavender Town song. Shortly after this video goes live, Blame Truth uploads a series of videos explaining some seemingly paranormal things going down. In this video, for example, he says that he's been having some technical problems. His camera randomly cuts when he tries to record, his laptop got the blue screen of death, his Game Boy Advance stopped displaying picture, and then he says this.
And this drawer, which was completely closed, opened on its own. Just like that.
Fans began to notice that problems he was experiencing were all seemingly related to the color blue. Blue screen of death, his chipped SD card was blue, even stuff in this drawer was blue, further adding to the theory that this was all related to Blame Truth's copy of Pokémon Blue. But talk is cheap. Was this really enough to convince much of his audience that something abnormal really was going on here? You see, Blame Truth wasn't some random YouTuber who just started documenting weird things happening to him. He's an established YouTuber who had, over a period of 4 years, established a relationship with his audience. Blame Truth was one of the very first people to do gameplay and commentary videos. It was like watching your friend play a game you liked and shoot the shit. There was no reason to believe he was just messing with you. As far as you were concerned, everything he had told you up until this point was true. He had no reason to lie. He was just some dude like you who wanted to talk about the games he was playing and the life he was living. So when he started uploading videos of seemingly paranormal things happening, loyal fans had no reason to doubt his concern. But on the other hand, you could say that he was doing all of this as a Halloween prank, since this was all happening in October. There were people who believed that, but most of the people who were interested were somewhere in the middle, and later on in this video I'm going to explore that, but right now I want to talk about 2 other videos he uploaded called Capture 1 and Capture 2. These are short videos of him playing an emulator of Pokémon Blue. He explained in a previous video that his Game Boy Advance randomly died, adding to the list of unexplainable electrical problems he's been having. In both videos, there are some serious audio and visual glitches, including audio looping and skipping, strange filters, character sprites replacing Pokemon sprites, but the weirdest shit of all is this. This happens in both captures, and it freaked me the fuck out as a kid. I don't know how anybody else felt, but I was pretty convinced after seeing these 2 videos. Huh, there's a third one. Jesus Christ! So after several weeks of odd things happening, Blame Truth gets a random email from someone just named Christina, no last name. In this email, Christina explains that she believes that the quote-unquote ghost haunting him is actually the ghost of her grandfather who had died of the Blue Death, otherwise known as the flu of 1918. Just like all of the other shit that had been going on, this was strange. Bold of this person to assume that this was indeed her deceased grandfather, but even more bizarre is what Blame Truth pointed out about how the letter was formatted.
It spells out all lies. We got ALL right there on a lucky letter. We got let, I eventually, and so, which is lies. And that's too much to be a coincidence.
However, just when things seemed their craziest, everything ceased. What do I mean by that exactly? Well, the days following the email were devoid of any paranormal activity at all. No more glitches, no more strange noises, no more quote-unquote hauntings. It appeared that the story was over, and that all of these events could be chalked up to either strange coincidences or someone playing a prank. So in retrospect, clearly Blame Truth was weaving together some kind of story here. He combined his love of horror, the paranormal, and video games to create an ARG of sorts, and it was definitely successful, fiscally and otherwise. However, I hope you're all wearing your seatbelts, because this story is about to take a complete left turn into Goat Farm Road. So after things had seemed to settle down on the Blame Truth channel, something unexpected began happening. A YouTube channel named after an Amazon authentication code, 01851CD0, began uploading video responses to some of Blame Truth's videos. Now, if you remember video responses, you're probably so old that you're just waiting in your nursing home to die. But if you don't remember what they were, basically, YouTube used to have this feature where instead of commenting on a video, you could make a video responding to the video you had just watched. Blame Truth took notice of this channel, and he, along with everybody else, was bewildered at what they saw. All of their videos are heavily edited and eerie as shit. Also, all of the titles are upside down words with no spaces between them. But it wasn't until 2011 that they started uploading, seemingly for the sole purpose of getting Blame Truth's attention. And I say they because this channel is run by 2 people who wear a bunny and a monkey mask. If you watch these videos, you'll quickly find out that these upstanding gentlemen are stalking Blame Truth, at least his channel. And upon realizing that this channel and the email he received were connected, Blame Truth decided to once again document strange occurrences, and thus, the recording series was born. There are officially 23 episodes, but episodes 1 through 16 are where the meat and potatoes of our story are. Episodes 1 and 2 are pretty similar. They're more like vlogs than anything. Blame Truth and his friend are walking in a park talking about the events that transpired last month in the first episode, and in the second episode they drive up to a supposed haunted church called the Chapel of Rest to capture potentially interesting footage and or sound. Nothing too noteworthy happens here, but it's in the episode that follows, called 2.5, that things start to get more bizarre than a Joestar.
Today, I went out to check my mail, and I found this in the mailbox. It's not a game anymore, waiting patiently.
The messages on the back of the fortune, "It's not a game anymore" and "Waiting patiently," are in direct reference to two videos uploaded by the randomly generated gamertag channel. Clearly they know where he lives and have been stalking him for some time. No longer was this just some creepy channel messing with him online, they posed a serious threat. In episode 3, Blame Truth returns to the Chapel of Rest with his girlfriend and begins asking questions aloud to try to bring out the ghosts.
Is it true that you had an illegitimate child with someone?
There are some strange noises heard here and there, but once again, this episode isn't all that important to the overarching story Anthony is weaving. Or is it? You see, after watching episodes 1, 2, and 3, it becomes apparent that Blame Truth is trying to convince his audience that the recording series is nothing more than him investigating supposed haunted places. Make no mistake, this is to throw everyone off. None of the events in episodes 1, 2, and 3 pertain to episodes 4 and beyond. I believed he wanted to make subsequent events feel more authentic by starting the recording series off with paranormal investigations. That way, it makes everything else that follows feel more bizarre yet believable, as if he was really being stalked. I might not be making a lot of sense right now, but once I get into what happens in episodes 4 through 16, I should. Episode 4 is where things really start to take off. Blame Truth receives yet another email from Christina, and we find out that her last name is White. He draws a connection between this email and the previous one.
Basically, if you highlight everything, there are upside down words, which really makes me believe whoever sent this email, probably the same people, one of the same persons behind that weird channel.
Now things are getting serious. These people screwing with him are implying that there's a video on his camera that they recorded, and if Blame Truth doesn't upload it, they'll kidnap his girlfriend.
And it says, check the camera, upload what you find, or we will take the girl.
Now, upon finding out this info, some fans would definitely be skeptical, but the genius of this video lies within Blame Truth trying to convince everyone that 1, the cops are going to get involved,
I'm definitely calling the police on you.
And 2,
I did plan on going to this place around here called Goat Farm Road a few days ago, but it was raining really hard.
Still trying to convince fans that this is all just about investigating for fun, Blame Truth name drops a place called Goat Farm Road, and in episode 5, he goes there.
So me and my girlfriend Ashton, which you can't see because it's dark, are on the way to Goat Farm Road, which is I don't know, it's a weird area. It's supposedly haunted, but it has a weird backstory. A group of people apparently were in the satanic cult or whatever. It's rumored to be satanic. I've actually heard stories that it wasn't satanic and that it was actually some kind of weird religious affiliation. I can't remember what it was, but whatever it was, they hung animals from trees like goats, and that's I think where the road got its name actually.
This is a pivotal episode in the series because upon arriving at the aforementioned Goat Farm Road with a history of housing cults, this happens.
Wait, stop. What the hell is that? The fuck is that?
So what's the overarching story here? Is this really a member of a cult that meets in the woods? Was that person related to the emails and letter Blame Truth received? Was Anthony merely being followed without knowing it, and they planned to kill him at Goat Farm Road? Well, allow me to answer all of those questions by skipping ahead to episode 14. In episode 14, Blame Truth gets an email from the same Christina White. This email, titled Join Us, contains just one thing: a link to a video. The video itself was clearly made by whoever created the Star Wars droid named channel, linking Christina White to the people who run the channel. I'm gonna play a few seconds of this video, but I'm just gonna say right now that the audio was purposely messed with to make it harder to understand. I'll do my best to transcribe it.
Pondering is over. You see, Anthony, about a year ago, you visited Goat Farm Road. Our old territory. And you saw something. Someone you weren't supposed to see. Someone who means a great deal to us. Someone who also saw you and thought you would make a fine addition to our family. Contrary to the legend of our family, we're not satanic. Our family is not of any religion. And for the past year, we've been watching, playing games. You see, we're big fans of scary stories, creepypastas, alternate reality games. At the end of the day, though, these things are fictional. We wanted to make a story, a game. There was never a haunting. We merely took coincidences and your paranoia and turned it into a story. But I feel as if our time in the spotlight has come to an end. It's not a game anymore. It's time for you to join us. We'll be waiting for a response from you. Waiting patiently.
Key takeaways. 1. If we are to believe this video, there was never any haunting, and all that happened was either coincidence or these people spying on Blame Truth. 2. The reason this is happening is because of what Blame Truth said in episode 5.
I'm pretty sure, I went here about a year ago, and I actually went a little bit inside, and I swear to you, I heard stuff moving. It was very strange. I saw, glares. They looked like eyes, and I saw glares, too, which... I don't know if animals' eyes glare or whatever, but I got the hell out of there pretty quick.
When he went to Goat Farm Road the previous year, he quote-unquote saw something that he wasn't supposed to see. And 3, and most importantly, this video was more like Blame Truth talking directly to his audience than anything. Lines like there was never a haunting and it's not a game anymore, I interpret as Blame Truth saying that this was all a work of fiction and it's soon coming to an end. Because remember, there were so many fans that still were convinced up until this point that everything was 100% real. These masked men asked Blame Truth to join them, which ultimately leads to a really good conclusion. But I'm getting ahead of myself. First, we need to explore the men in masks and what they're after. So these people in the animal masks, what's their damage? Well, their first video... Oh, hold on a second. Their first video had a bunch of upside-down text in it, with one of the lines being, "This is all part of their plan," while a video of... Bud Dwyer's plays. Bud Dwyer was a politician in the 80s who was convicted of bribery and perjury, but he's most well known for his televised... I guess they viewed him as some sort of martyr because a lot of people believed he was wrongfully convicted. So maybe their cult revolves around exposing, I don't know, government secrets or something? I don't know, it was never really explained. Their only real definitive goal is to stalk Blame Truth and determine if they should kill him for quote-unquote seeing something he shouldn't have, or get him to join the cult. As we saw in episode 14, they choose the latter, but as time goes on, they upload other videos corresponding with Blame Truth's videos. For example, in episode 6 of recordings, Blame Truth walks out of his front door to find a severed deer head on his porch. Around the same time, 01A51CD0 uploads this. The same thing happens in episode 12. Here, Blame Truth and a friend travel to a local hiking trail to find something that he was told to look for by the nice folks over at 01A51CD0. The video you're watching right now is of Blame Truth and his friend in the parking lot being recorded by the creepy channel. It's almost like a game of cat and mouse, with 01A51CD0 leaving clues and instructions for Blame Truth just to keep tabs on him. Speaking of, remember how they threatened Blame Truth to upload some video to his channel? Well, that's exactly what episode 7 is, and the video was apparently so disturbing that YouTube had to step in and censor it. Blame Truth also showed it to the police, who fingerprinted his camera and checked his house for signs of breaking and entering, but to no avail. In episode 8, Blame Truth finds hidden cameras in his house, implying that this is how they know what he's doing at home, and just about a day later, the masked men upload this video to his channel. This clue, as it were, is the location he heads to in episode 12, the hiking trail. But just before he goes, he explains in episode 9 that,
As for that video, though, that they uploaded, I know where that place is they were referencing, and I know why they said face your fear at the end of the video, because a lot of people don't know this about me, but I have a fear of deep water, and it comes from when I almost drowned as a kid in a swimming pool, actually.
clearly they know a lot about him. Perhaps they had mics in his house too? Anyways, this is what he finds while searching in episode 12.
There you go, well done. What you got?
I think it's an SD card and a fortune. That's cute.
In the following episode, Blame Truth reveals what's on the SD card, a video file called Hello. The video is of the masked stalkers breaking into Blame Truth's house and filming him while he sleeps. Skipping back ahead to episode 14, remember, the episode in which Blame Truth is asked to join the masked men, Blame Truth now has two options, either join or run. However, he chooses a different path, to fight. Something that made this series really interesting at the time was its ending. In episode 15, Blame Truth writes that these masked cult members are known by local police. In fact, they're actually criminal informants. So let me get this straight. They're two ex-cons harassing and threatening a 20-year-old, and the police won't interfere because they're quote-unquote informants? Blame Truth decides to plan a meetup with these guys, and that brings us to episode 16, the end of the Blame Truth arc. He meets up with the two masked men by a local pier, and the open-ended ending transpires. Blame Truth probably enjoyed making this so much, and that it was so successful, that he wanted to find a way to continue it in the future. I really appreciated his way of leaving the recording series open for future arcs, as slowly zooming out to show more masks was a really smart move. However, you really can't keep this going after episode 16. No longer could the audience suspend their disbelief. In his fictional story, in which many thought was non-fiction, Blame Truth murdered 2 people. The fact that he uploaded premeditated murder makes it blatantly obvious that all of this was fake. But you know what? That's okay. Earlier in this video, I said there will never be anything like the recording series ever again. The story is a culmination of perfect timing, perfect storyteller, and perfect level of suspension of disbelief. It combined the interest of contemporary horror with new media, YouTube, and its storyteller was one that had already established himself as someone separate from this kind of entertainment, and therefore the content came completely out of left field. The recording series is a product of its time, and the result of factors that only occurred at that point in time. Which brings me to episodes 17 through 23 of recordings. These episodes take place sometime after Anthony ran away from his hometown after, the murder. It stars one of Blame Truth's friends, Lindsay, who's living with Anthony's mom after moving home from college. The episodes are mainly about her just documenting strange noises she hears at night and, occasional notes she gets from Blame Truth while he's gone. But who cares? Without the suspension of disbelief, all I see is someone lying to me. I know everything is fake now, and therefore I've lost interest. That's not to say that, episodes 17 through 23 are bad, per se. It's just that they're pointless. At this point, the story is over in the minds of all those who are interested. Anyways, let's try to end this video on a less harsh note. Something interesting I found while researching was a director's commentary series for the recording series. Blame Truth spills the beans about the making of recordings. He says that the people in masks were actually just his 2 friends, and that he and his friends also made the channel 01 A51 CD0, and it was in the Deerhead episode that I truly found out his level of dedication.
This episode came about randomly. A friend of mine posted on Facebook that their dog carried a severed deer head from the woods onto their property. I saw it and said, I'll give you $10 for that severed deer head.
Well guys, thanks so much for watching my video about Blame Truth's recording series. I seriously had a blast writing, editing, and recording it. Please leave a like if you liked the video, and remember, if you think your games are haunted, it's probably just a cult that the police are voluntarily ignoring.